Hello, hello, everyone. Oh my goodness. Whew, this has been a week. I am finally getting on live. I know Saturday's live, what a mess. Couldn't get on. And today, oh my gosh. Let me say hello and I'll tell you what's been going on today. Hey, Jennifer Lewis, a new member. Well, welcome. Doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. My bell is in my van, so I can't ring my bell, but hallelujah, I'm so glad you're here. Hey, Marta, hello, hello. Oh my goodness. Thank you. Hit the like. There's only a few of us. I don't know how many of us are going to come in today and join in, but you know what? Even if we only have a few, that makes it more special because we'll be able to have, maybe intimate personal conversations if there's only a few of us. But who else is here? Kathleen. Hello, Kathleen. I tell you. Hey, Catherine in Fabulous 60s. Hello. Sandra is here. Three generations. Iris. Oh my goodness, the folks are joining in. Randy Bailey. Hello. And Patty Win 4380. Oh my goodness, we're here from Missouri. Oh my goodness. Oh, I I have I have a couple, but one of my minivan, um I dropped Jessica off, went over to Albertsons of all places to pick up something, and the van wouldn't start. The push button apparently was not working. Now, this happened about a week ago, and I took it to my mechanic, and he replaced. He said it was I had to have it towed there, right? That was about a week ago. Had it towed there. The next morning I come back and he says, "Oh, it's fine. It's starting. No problem." I said, "No, it's not fine. I'm not leaving here till you figure out what's wrong. Something's wrong. I'm not going to get stuck in the middle of nowhere." So he took it back in. He came back out and he goes, "You know what? I think it's the brake sensor. There's a when you have a push button start for the ignition, you have to have the brake engaged all the way down. Then you hit the button." He said the sensor from the brake, there was a problem with that. So he replaced that. So I picked it up the next day. I'm driving all around, no problems. Been driving for a week, no problems. Get to Albertsons, won't start. Same things on the ignition. When you push the button, all the lights come on, on the dash, but the windows are going up and down, the windshields, I checked that, the air, the radio, everything. So it's not the battery. And the battery is really only about 6 months old. So I knew it wasn't the battery. So I'm checking everything, and it was the same problem. So it was late. My mechanic wasn't open. So I left it there. I was afraid they were going to tow me, though, because I had to leave it in the grocery parking lot. So I went in and talked to the manager. They said no, that there wasn't a security on duty last night. And so I put a note in the window saying that the manager gave me permission to stay there. And then I drove over to my mechanic because he was actually, thank goodness, he's right down the road from where the Albertsons was. And he came over. He left his shop, drove over to where I was, checked it, put his little device in there, and he says, "No, it's not the battery." I said, "Well, obviously it wasn't the brake sensor either because it's doing the same thing." So apparently there are so many things that could be going wrong with it. It could be something called the BMS, which could be fuses. It could be something but it's something that the sensor somewhere in there's an electrical thing where the sensor telling from the push button to wherever else in the engine, it's blocking it. So I don't know, but I know this. You know what? As soon as I get this fixed, I'm done. I'm selling it. I'm done. I'll tell whoever I sell it to that this was a problem. But it's just too stressful for me to deal with this. But anyhow, so that's how my day is gone. So I had to get it towed this morning or this afternoon over to, I didn't know if I was even going to make it to my own live this afternoon, but I'm here. Enough about me. That's just my rant for the day. But you know what? in the midst of it, I'm really on a gratitude journey. And so that means that I'm trying to look at every situation and find something to be grateful about. And what I'm grateful about is that when it happened, Jessica wasn't with me. We weren't out in the middle of the desert on the way to Quartzsite or somewhere where I had no phone reception, where it would have been, a couple hundred miles to get it towed somewhere. So it's a couple hundred miles from home, then trying to get it towed somewhere, then trying to get home. So, I mean, you know what? It could have been a whole lot worse, but it was not. So I'm just thankful that it was right down the street from my mechanic. I got it towed there, and I don't need it right away. So he said leave it with him for a couple days and he's going to try and figure out what it is. But have any of you ever had that problem with your push button where it wouldn't work? I hate these modern vehicles. I just wish it was like a regular key. Turn it, it goes, the ignition. If it doesn't go, it's the starter or something. But these things that are all modern, and give me an old-fashioned car that doesn't have all these computers and all this stuff and anyone can fix, and you don't have to go through checking all this circuitry and all this stuff. How about you guys? Would you rather have just a regular, even a roll down window? I'm okay with that. Just give me plain stuff that's easy to fix. But anyhow, what can I say? Hey, Miss Chigger, hello. Cargo trailer, let's see. Trailer Cargo Trail Erica. Okay, I got it. At least I'm even having a hard time reading with my glasses on. Hey, Wanda 726324 is in the house. Kenneth Gardner. Hey, Kenneth. This is the first time in months I've been here. What have I missed? Well, you've missed a lot, Kenneth. I've missed you. I was like, wow, Kenneth is back in the house. Glad to see you back, Kenneth. Karen's Fabulous 60 says, Karen, she just started. Yeah, I just started today, but you've missed months and months of fun stuff. Hey, Billy Clover. Oh my goodness. And cargo trailer. Oh, a cargo trailer. I love cargo trailers. I just love them. I've seen some really beautifully laid out ones. And Donna, Voice and Clarity. Hey, Donna. Oh my goodness. Did you change your name of your channel, Donna? Looks like you did. Randy says, leaving Crescent City today. I fly out of Medford, Oregon to Oklahoma. Wow. So are you going to be staying in Oklahoma and moving to Oklahoma, Randy, or just going for a little while? And what's in Oklahoma? Hey, CD. Hello. Decatur, Indiana. Oh my goodness. Hey, Tim from Mo Bang for Your Bucks. Hello. Try to see anyone I haven't said. Hey, Janelle Diaz. Hello, Janelle. I think I've said CD. I've said hello. Those push to start buttons are nothing but troubles. You said it, Tim. You said it. I don't want a vehicle with one of those again. It's just a pain in the behind. Hey, Gareth Shoot. Hello. Oh, you did change your name, Donna. Okay. Billy says I am an antique, and so my car is an antique, and so am I. Well, my car is not antique enough. If it was old as me, it might be okay. Ah, oh, and and Andrew Andrew from Australia. Oh my goodness, I know I messed that name up. But hello and welcome. We have another regular in here who's from Australia, but he's not here today. It doesn't so far. Diane Castor saying hello. Oh my goodness. Whoo, buddy, a lot going on. I wanted to talk a little bit about some things going on. I know some of the things I say may be controversial, and whenever I do a topic like this or talk about anything like this, I always get people unsubscribing, and you know what? That's okay. If you want to unsubscribe, people want to unsubscribe because they don't agree with something I say. It is what it is. But sometimes I think we have to have the courage and we have to know what's important. And if it means taking a loss in one area to speak up in another area, I think, when people stop having courage to speak up about things that they see, this will not be a country that I recognize. And I hope that never, never happens. But hey, always wandering, hello. And Kathleen Kandra, hello, hello. But Kathleen says, my car insurance premium increased $300 plus annually. Why? Wow. No claims, drive less than 5,000 miles per year, 13-year-old Ford SUV. I guess I'd have to say, Kathleen, why? Because they can. That's what I've concluded. So many of these raises are and rising cost are simply because the people pulling the strings are in charge and they have the ability to do that. And they've kind of got you behind a barrel because you have to decide. I know, I have an old, clunker Honda, old one, and I have coverage on it, but I'm like, should I just drop the full coverage because the car is really, it's a 2009, it's not worth that much, but it would cost me a lot to replace it. The value of it, so I don't know. These are questions we have, and they're sometimes difficult questions to answer. What is the value for what we're paying? But I think the final answer to your question, Kathleen, is be simply the cost that and the raises and the rising prices are simply because they can, and that they know that most of us are between a rock and a hard spot and we have to pay it. I mean, if rents go up, people have to live somewhere. So, and I think people, cut back, cut back, cut out cable, cut out this, cut out that, turn their thermometer or their thermostats, during the winter down to, 68, and keep them in the summer at maybe 78. I mean, you make adjustments and sacrifices, and you get to the point that there's simply nowhere else to cut. And that's when people end up moving into their vehicles. And so many. I did a video last week, Saturday, on a woman by the name of Jackie who is in her SUV. Now she's been living in a vehicle for 14 years, but right now due to circumstances, which I'm not going to go into, but circumstances in her life, she's had to cut her expenses. I mean, she's had to whittle them down to barely nothing. She's living right now on $500 a month. But go over and check out the video and she'll share more about that. But I mean, she had to cut out all of her insurance except for liability. Her car's newer than mine. She didn't buy it new, she bought it used. But one thing she did, which was really so smart, is that when she was able to, she worked double shifts. She worked 2 jobs, 3 jobs. She did whatever she could to get her car paid off. She got her car paid off. She got any bills that she had paid off, anyone that she owed any money. She doesn't use credit cards. So with having no debt, including no car payment, and just having reoccurring expenses, she's able to live on very, very little. And she's learned to really just economize in areas that typically are very expensive. And she lives in a city and she doesn't travel, go across the country or up to the mountains or here or there. She stays in one specific area. And so that cuts down on her gas. So she's been able to keep her expenses to $500 a month. So I think it's just, but that's one of the things I wanted to talk about, is how and what, and I'm going to do a video on this, but what are some things that we can do? And, I don't know how you all feel about this, but here we are getting ready to, Catherine Fabulous 60 says, That and our homeowners insurance almost doubled. Yeah. Yeah, my homeowners insurance has almost doubled. And I was talking to my agent and I said it and she was just she just was silent for a minute and I could tell she was really disgusted. She said, "You're just not going to believe what's going to be happening with insurance." And she just deadpan. So that let me know that things are going to get a whole lot worse with insurance, at least in California. I don't know, Catherine's fabulous 60s. Are you in California, Catherine? But I'm telling you, with wildfires and everything else in California, my insurance has doubled, and I'm afraid to look at it when it renews. I'm just afraid because it's going to be coming around in a few months, and I'm afraid to see what the premiums are going to be. I know some people. I'm not in Florida, thank the Lord, but I know some folks in Florida. Their insurance has gone up to at least $1,000, $1,000 a month. A month. That's more than my mortgage payment. $1,000. I mean, my mortgage payment wasn't that. $1,000 a month. Oh my! Can you imagine getting your home paid off, getting it paid off, and then having your insurance and your taxes and your insurance go up to $1,000 a month? So you thought you worked all your adult life, most of it, worked, put it away, get that insurance, get that mortgage paid off. You have a mortgage burning ceremony, get it all, and you think you're out of the woods, and finally, like, whew, and then your insurance for your home goes up to $1,000 a month. You're in worse shape than you were before you even paid off your mortgage. I don't know what people are going to do. I really don't know. I I don't know. I'm thinking about things that maybe can be done, but I don't have an answer on that. But I do know that bartering, one of the things, and I'm going to talk about in my video, I think we're going to have to get back to some of the things that our grandparents used to do. Remember, if you watch any of those old time TV shows, way back in the day, where, the country doctor, sometimes they wouldn't pay him in money because they didn't have money, but they'd pay him in produce or meat or eggs. Or I think we're going to have to get back to a barter economy where if you have a skill, and I'm going to go into this in my video, but if you have a skill, you're going to need to use that skill and identify what skills you have. Are you a great cook? Are you a good seamstress? Are you a mechanic? Do you have mechanical skills? Are you handy around the house? Can you fix plumbing things? I think that's what we're coming to, where money is not going to be the only, and maybe not for many, the main means of exchange. I really do think that's what we need to do. Hey, Tater Skins, hello, hello. Yes, Catherine, greed, absolutely greed. Tim says you can thank EV, Kathleen. We are paying more to cover for those EVs. Once they crash, they are totaled. Yeah, I don't think that's the only thing, though, Tim. I think like Catherine said, I think a lot of it is really greed, and that they raise prices on things because they can. It's just really simple. I remember a while back, this was during the pandemic, I was in a Big Lot store, and I was talking to one of the managers, and I said, wow, prices are going up. Wow, this item was such and such last week. I said, are you paying that much more for your things that are coming in, the new items? And she shared with me, she said, it's not just that. She said, we're giving instructions to go around and stuff that's already on the floor to raise the prices on things that are already on the floor. So they're not just, a lot of stores use the excuse, well, with the pandemic and everything, prices went up, we had to pay more. No, at least in this store, this manager admitted they were going around things that are already on the store that they'd already paid for a certain price and had been priced accordingly to their customers. They were going around and jacking up the prices of those things. That's just greed. Plain and simple greed. Sandra says, we don't have to agree with one another. We just have to treat each other with respect. Sandra, I wish that would be the tone of the country right now. That I don't have to agree with you, but I don't have to hate you because I disagree with you. And because I disagree with you, or we disagree, or we don't see eye to eye, doesn't make us enemies. We simply, I look at what happened. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie, Rwanda, but it was about two tribes in Africa, in the country of Rwanda. They're the Houthis, and I forget the other name or something. But these were people, families who had lived in the same community as neighbors, sharing food, sharing meals, friends. And then all of a sudden they had political divisions and things, and neighbors, one group was massacring the other group, people who their children went to school with. I mean, it was a massive genocide that occurred. If you haven't seen that movie, Rwanda, go back and see it. It's just, I just hope we don't get to something like that here. There are things that honestly, 10 years ago, even 5 years ago, even 3 years ago, I never would have thought would happen in our country. There is a viciousness on the extremes on both sides that I never thought I would see. And there's an absolute, in my opinion, refusal to take responsibility for their actions by the people that we have elected. And blaming each other, all of this, all of that. Well, you know what? While you're doing all that, people are suffering. And come the 31st of this month, food stamps are going to be cut out. How many of you think that they're going to let it go through, and that they're actually, both sides are going to let people go without food? This includes children, seniors. About 20%, about 19% of people on food stamps are seniors. So these are seniors who, for you to qualify for food stamps, you have to have a very low income. So these are seniors who are probably living on very meager incomes, disabled folks, and about 39 to 40% of the people who benefit from food stamps are children. So, how many of you in this talk today think that this is like a game of chicken on steroids. Yeah, that's what I would say. A game of chicken on steroids. Who's going to back up first before everything just totally implodes? But I'm wondering, are they going to let it get to the point where people are actually going hungry because they can't get food stamps? And what I also think, I know a lot of people, when I first said this a few weeks ago, they're like, oh, no, you're just fear-mongering, you're fear-mongering. Well, guess what? The USDA has now come out and said, yeah. And this is what I said a few weeks ago. I said, I did a lot of research. And in my research, I found out that food stamps were funded on a monthly basis. When the shutdown occurred, the food stamp program had been funded through October because the shutdown started on the 1st of October. And I think the funding actually occurs on the 21st of the month prior, if I'm not mistaken. And it may not show up on the cards till the 1st. But anyhow, I said, if this continues past the end of October, I don't think there are contingency funds, but I don't believe there's going to be enough, and people may not be able to get their food stamps. And like I said, people were like, oh, drama, you're just more drama, more drama. Well, guess what? Like I said, the agriculture secretary has come out and told at the White House, I think she was outside the White House, told a group of reporters, hey, this is what's happening. The USDA, U.S. Department of Agriculture. But I'm just wondering, how many of you think that they're going to actually let it happen? I'm going to give my vote. I think they are. I think they are. We'll see. We'll see. Tim said insurance companies and DMV are in cahoots to rob us legally. There are a lot of them that are in cahoots to rob us legally, Tim. Hey, Nora, one of my other moderators. Tim is a moderator. Nora is a moderator in here in the house. Hello, hello. Sandra says, hi, Tim. It's still Sandy. I had to change my tag for searches. Okay, Sandy. Everyone's saying hi to Nora. AI Dente, AI Dente says, there will always be times of plenty and lean times. That is true. But I think this is going to be something that is unprecedented in most of our lifetimes. Now, maybe during the war back in, the 40s, back in the Depression in the late 20s and 19, what was it, 29? Um, but I don't think most of us who are living, there are some much older folks, but I don't think most of us who are living have experienced what is going to be happening. Because have you looked? I don't have a list of them, but I know Starbucks has laid off thousands, closing down thousands of stores. Walmart, I haven't confirmed this, but I heard that they have a 3-year hiring freeze. Every time I turn on the TV or YouTube, I'm seeing about another company that's laying off thousands of employees. And traditionally, I don't know why this is, but traditionally, a lot of employers lay off people right before Christmas. Maybe it's so that their year-end numbers, they can get them in alignment. I don't know, for their stockholders. I don't know, but a lot of companies do their layoffs just before Christmas. So this isn't the main or the primary time where layoffs happen as a rule. So if this is happening now, what's going to happen in December? And then you've got thousands of people from the government who are now not just furloughed, but actually laid off, terminated. Whew. So, and anymore, has anyone out there tried applying for jobs lately? Entry level jobs at Walmart, Target, fast food places. You're now competing with people with degrees, even master's degrees. It's crazy out there. Oh, Catherine says I'm in Arkansas. Okay, so Arkansas, the house insurance in Arkansas is going up like that. Wow. Tater Skin says mine's at 2008. They're going to have a hard time justifying any increases. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know, Tater Skin. We'll see. Let me know when it's come time for renewal. I'll be curious. Mo Bang says, here's my rant. Why is my DMV $247 a year for a 2008 Toyota Sienna? I don't know. That is just crazy. Crazy, crazy. Greed. That's all I can say, Tim. It's absolutely greed. A friend of mine lives in Illinois, and I think hers was like something like $36. But then they have tolls. Almost all their roads, a lot of their highways are tolls. But then I guess, I wonder if I guess you'd pay more than $247 if you go to work every day and you use a toll road. But I don't know. They're getting you going and coming, Tim. What can I say? Sandra and Sandy says they can charge whatever they want for car insurance because you can't drive without it. That's exactly it. Exactly it. You got it. Al Dente says, I bought a new vehicle and my insurance went down. Wow. Same coverage. Weird. Now that is weird. Wow. Hey, be grateful for blessings. Grateful. $58. Was it a brand new vehicle or just a new to you vehicle? And $58 for 6 months? What do you have, a moped? I'm sorry. I just haven't. Is that $58 for 6 months or $58 a month for 6 months? I mean, unless you're on a skateboard, I can't imagine that in California, those would be skateboard prices. Oh my goodness. Sandy says, same as the insurance, pay it or don't drive, Tim. Yep, yep. Tim says, unfortunately, Florida is the path of a hurricane in the path. Yeah. Yeah. Florida, they're having big problems. They're not being able to sell their properties. Um, yeah, and people who got out about 6 months ago got out just in the nick of time because now, if you have not sold, they have so many properties listed right now. I mean, I forget the figure, but I think it's like the highest number of properties listed in I forget how many years. Yeah. Billy says, I told my sister I might get a horse and buggy. I'm telling you, if it gets, I had to pay, I wasn't near a Costco and I had to get gas. 4.89 a gallon. I only got 5 gallons. I was like, I'm not filling up on this. I'm just getting enough to get me to a Costco. 4.89. If it goes much higher, I will get an electric bike or a scooter or something. You know, you know, I just won't have a choice. Martin one of my other great moderators says, I have a 2007 Camry Toyota hybrid. Last year, collision and liability was 483 every 6 months. Thank God this year it's 386. Wow. Wow. In Southwest Ohio. Well, that's great. So it went down almost $100, about $97. That's fabulous, Marta. I'm happy for you. Feminine Poet says that's what they did in the quote olden days. Yeah, I think the bartering system, yeah, Billy Clover. We're going to have to go back to that, and some other things that I'll share in the video that I'm going to make. Sheila Murphy says insurance has always been based on risk of location, flood, fire zones have always been high risk areas. Yes, but they have never been the kinds of prices that they're charging now. And Florida has always been a high risk area for hurricanes. It's always been, but the prices have gotten astronomical. I don't know whether it's because what happened this last year with hurricane flooding going into areas that traditionally did not flood before or didn't have a history of flooding. Oops, sorry, I'm moving my computer. I don't know why that happened, but it's like a perfect storm. And but here's the other thing too, Sheila. It's also on risk in terms of areas where there's high crime. Well, when the economy gets worse, crime goes up almost everywhere. So that means almost everywhere is going to be getting increases because the risk for getting broken into or having your car stolen or vandalized is increasing as the climate around us financially gets worse. So Nora says, when my hubby and I had retail store, we were part of a national barter network. Oh, we accumulated enough credit to renovate our apartment almost completely long time ago in the 90s. Well, I think that these barter groups are going to come back into existence. And in fact, I'm going to start looking them up. Now, how did that work, Nora? Nora, are you interested? I don't know if you're interested in coming up and explaining. How did that work? How did the barter group work? What did you barter and what did you do and how did you provide the barter service? I'm going to leave a link. I don't know if you're want to come up, but if you want to come up, come on up. But I'm interested. I'm definitely interested in knowing how the barter system worked because I dropped a link, Nora, because I want to start getting involved in bartering. I'm trying to figure. I can cook, I can write. Those are two things I know I can do. So, just assessing your skills and determining what skills might be beneficial. Hey, Tia Little, hello. Been months since catching a live stream. Sending love to all. Well, thank you. I'm so glad that you joined us again, Tia. Don't be a stranger. Feminine Poet says, this is all planned and calculated. There has been a war on the poor for a long time, and it's going to continue. Well, it's going to get worse. It's going to get a lot worse. I'm wondering, because with the food stamps, uh, food bank directors are saying they're not going to be able to make up the difference. They're already strapped and running out of food. So food banks are not going to be able to make up the gap from what's going to happen with food stamps. Now, I'll tell you something. I know some people are going to say, "Oh, you're being a fear monger," but certain things are predictable. And if in fact food stamps, because food stamps is considered a mandatory um, funded program. So is housing, Section 8, and some of these others. And I'll get back to that in a minute. Nora's here and I want to find out about bartering. Hey, Nora.
Hi.
Hi. So, how does the bartering work?
I don't think that particular barter network exists anymore, but I'm sure there are others. At that time, we had a retail toy store.
Okay.
So, first you register with the network, you give them all your information and they give you a checkbook, and some of them issue credit, like debit cards or whatever.
Mhm.
So somebody from the barter network, let's say, would come into my store. They needed toys for gifts or whatever, and they'd come into our store, and let's say they bought, $150 worth of toys. So
Okay.
they would write out a check, and I would get it authorized while they were there. I'd call up a certain number,
Hmm.
and then that 150, they paid the tax in cash. Tax or shipping something, that would all get paid in cash. And then that 150 would be like dollars, credits going into our quote unquote checking account, our barter account.
So now, would
So
you not get the 150 in cash? And I mean, in
no,
money?
you got barter credit.
Oh,
So
okay.
so it just it builds up, and then in the network at that time there were all kinds of vendors and services that you could get. So if I needed an electrician, I would look on that network directory, it was online, or
Mhm.
and see if there were any electricians in the area that I lived in, or painters or whatever. And we would arrange a price, and if it's a large amount that you're spending, then the vendor has the right to say, well, I want half of it in cash. Obviously, you don't
Yeah,
want to,
yeah.
you're
You
not
don't
going to
want to
do
get $10,000 in barter.
of
Yeah.
course. So we kept accumulating credits, partly because we were at our store 6 or 7 days a week for years, but also we knew we wanted to renovate our apartment from head to toe. And we were at that time we were making really nice money too, because we were involved in the Beanie Baby craziness. So we
Okay.
kept saving up our cash, and we were saving up. We probably, if I remember correctly, had about $30,000 worth of credits
Wow.
over
So
the,
now what if um I'm just trying to figure out, so everyone though would have to participate, because if you only had a couple people participating,
of
that would,
course.
yeah.
You
So
had to
was there
have
any,
this was like a network, so you had to have a lot of, because everybody wants choices. Obviously, um, things that were hard to get were like high end things, like electronics, things
mhm,
like that, because usually they make a very low markup on that kind of stuff. So
okay.
they don't want to be involved in bartering. They want to make
Right.
whatever little profit they're going to make, they want to make it in cash.
Oh,
So, but we were lucky. We bought a beautiful stereo system. We found one place in New Jersey. We bought a stereo system for our store that we never in a million years would have bought if we had to spend cash. Even though technically, yeah, we're
technically you
paying,
were yeah, you were, yeah, but
but it has a different, yeah,
I wonder if, maybe a group of 4 or 5 people could farm their own. Like, say you have someone who cooks, but you'd have to pick specifically people. Say you had a group that had someone who was a really good cook, someone who had a farm, someone who maybe was a plumber, someone who could do handiwork, and
sure.
but some of those people would need to have cooking done. some would need to have, say, um, you know, other types of work done. So you'd have to have people whose needs fit
Each
the
other.
services that were in there.
And you got to, it sounds wonderful, but you got to remember in the old days, everybody knew everybody. There
Right,
were much
right.
smaller, tighter communities. So, you got to be careful who you're doing this with because, you know,
They
you
may
got
not
to
look
have
very
trust.
right, right. That's why I'm saying if you did it in a small, say you lived in a tiny house community, and in that tiny house community, you even had people who said, I'm older and I just can't cook my meals, or
Right,
I can't go grocery shopping, or I can't. So you would have people who would sign up, I want to barter this for that. I think
right,
what would happen is if in a small community, if you had a sign up board, I will do this many groceries for this many meals. You know what I mean? And
right,
then someone would just sign up and say, "Hey, I'll take that one." Do you know what I
right,
mean?
right.
I think that would work. Something like that
Yeah.
in a
Any of
small
it,
group.
yeah, it has to be a small group.
Right.
If it's not something like what I was talking about, it has to be a small, cohesive group,
Right.
where, like you said, everyone, people have something that somebody else really needs
Right.
and they're
Right.
willing to do this. Of course it
Yeah.
could work.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that, yeah. I'm going to have to think
We,
about that. Think about what people I know that have skills that I could trade with, or even maybe, yeah, hey, I know how to do YouTube, so maybe someone wants to start a YouTube who does something else, they could, you know, or who's
yeah.
electronically inclined, which I'm not, or mechanically inclined. But
Yep.
I really think that that's what we're going to be coming back to. I think things are getting so expensive that people are not going to be able to pay for a lot of things, a lot of their needs. And so they're going to have
Yeah.
to come up with creative ways to get their needs satisfied, in ways other than paying cash.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
that's what I think, but we'll see. You know,
Yeah.
but thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome,
And
my
by the
dear.
way, you want to tell everyone about your Etsy store so people can go over there because the
Aw,
holidays are
thank
coming
you.
up and time for gifts and stuff. So let them know if they're looking to get a beautiful painting or drawing. What's the name of your Etsy store?
It's I'll put a direct link in the chat, but it's the name of the store is Artworks by Nora K. And it's
Okay,
all one word and no spaces. Artworks by Nora K.
and that's on
At,
Etsy.
on Etsy.
Okay,
But I'll put a
sounds
direct
good.
link in the chat.
All right, thanks. I'll see you next time.
Thank
Okay,
you, dear.
bye bye. All right. Well, that's a big collective, like, bartering network. I think people who might be living in community are close to other people, especially if you're in a tiny house community or something like that. In fact, I think God willing, if I get or when I get my tiny house community going, I think that's one of the things that may be a requirement. Are you willing to be part of the bartering group? That may be something. I mean, that may be what, to make sure that everyone that's in there is interested and willing, so we have a group of people who work together. I don't know. These thoughts are just coming to me, but I know that people need things. People's needs are not going to be able to be met entirely with money anymore because people just don't have the funds and things are just getting so expensive. um Luna Luna Batty says, I think car insurance would be less if these insurance companies don't put a million commercials out a day. I swear all the ads on TV there are, Affleck and all these. I don't know about Affleck being it's not life insurance, but I mean it's not car insurance, but yeah, all these State Farm, yeah, the one that they've got with our farmers, whatever, at the baseball or football game, whatever. I know they come out zillions of them. Uh, Tim says, barter system is great to keep the government hand out of our pocket. Yes, yes. But guess what? If we had a big network, what do you want to bet that they'll all of a sudden start trying to do it? That's why it's got to be small and informal, and where people just do it among themselves, because otherwise, just like, other things, the government will figure out a way to get a piece of it. Diane Castor says, I was told we're paying more to cover uninsured motorists. Well, you know what? Maybe if they'd have stiffer fines and stiffer penalties, like you get you get the first time you have a big fine, the second time you're caught without insurance, you go to jail, and you go to jail for a significant amount of time. Maybe that would get people's attention. Maybe. Hey, 63 clocks. Hello, hello. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Hey, Marcy 9159. Al dente said some stores justify raising prices on current inventory to pay higher replacement costs. I can't buy that, and I'll tell you why. I'm not saying they don't do that. They do. I just said about it. But their higher replacement costs, come on now. If they're paying more for the replacement items, they're charging more. So that doesn't fly. That doesn't make sense. Oh, we're charging more on stuff that's already here because the new stuff that we're going to get is going to cost us more. Yeah, and you're going to charge your customers more. So no, I'm not buying that lame brain excuse. But that's what people will say when they think we're dumb. Luna says, yeah, clothes at Walmart has tags ripped off that showed old price. Wow. Wow. Isn't that something? Isn't that something? Marta says, I saw Rwanda. The UN soldiers saved them. The Hutus and the Tutsis. Yes. Oh, it was Hotel Rwanda. Okay. Hotel Rwanda. Yes. Yes. That was a powerful, powerful movie. And I don't know that we will get to that extreme here, but I think we're at some version of it with the climate that we have right now. If you're not on the left, you're not on the right. If you're not this, if you're not for that person, you're just, it's like you're enemies. And that is just so dangerous for a nation to be split like that. Mo Bang says, that's a horrible event, Rwanda. Yes, yes, Hotel Rwanda. It was so tragic, but it shows what happens when you let decency and civility drop and you just replace it with hatred and conflict and an enemy mindset. You're my enemy. Bad things happen. Let me just put it like that. Marcy says, I don't see this one as both sides situation. One party has all the power right now. Well, one party does have all the power in terms of the House, the Senate, and the president. But I believe that, well, one party is refusing right now to call people back together to negotiate, and that is a problem. I would agree that is a huge problem. As far as power, though, once getting together, in order to get anything passed, both parties have to come together, and until they decide to do that, I don't know. They're both at standoff. This is just my personal opinion. Right, wrong, indifferent. I'm no expert. I'm no, political genius. But from what I understand, the issue is doing away with the subsidies for medical insurance, for the Affordable Care Act, otherwise known as the Obama care. And a lot of people, here's the thing I didn't realize, a lot of people don't even know that Obamacare, they're saying, oh no, I'm not for Obamacare, but I'm for Affordable Care Act. I'm like, I don't understand how people are so uninformed. They're both the same thing. They're just different names. They call it Obamacare because it was when he was in office, but it's the Affordable Care Act. My understanding is, and I've done a lot of research on this, I'm not an expert, but I've done some research, is that cost of insurance for almost everyone on it will rise by at least 100% and maybe significantly more, which means that a lot of the people who now have health care will not have health care anymore. And here's what happens when that occurs. People end up going to the emergency room, and then they don't pay the bills because they don't have the money. And then all the treatments and procedures at hospitals go up, 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 up because hospitals are losing so much money. So we all end up paying a whole lot more. But I don't know about you all, but I think two things I think, well, three things, well, four things. I'm sorry. As I'm saying that, I keep thinking more and more. I think everyone should be able to have a decent roof over their head. I think in a country that has the wealth that we have, I think everyone should be able to have food, filling food. Now, I'm not talking about steaks and this and prime rib and all that, but food to sustain you so you're not going to bed hungry, especially children and seniors. I think everyone should have health care. That's just, I don't think people should, I don't think whether you live or die should depend on how rich you are. If, I mean, there are countries that children die for the lack of a simple antibiotic that may cost $5 or $10 for a bottle now for generics. I don't think we should be that here. I don't think that in this country, with all the wealth that we have, I don't think people should be dying because they can't get a basic medical procedure or treatment. And I'm going to tell you, I've seen it firsthand. You get a different level of medical treatment based on the kind of insurance you have. And I don't think that's right. I think there should be a minimum standard that is good, a minimum standard that everyone gets for healthcare. Now, as far as all the fluffs and the frills and maybe people coming to your house and picking you up, or maybe, a physical therapist coming to your house, okay, I can go along with maybe some of those perks not being in regular care. But as far as basic life sustaining care, I don't think your child should have to die because you can't afford to pay for them to get treatment. I just don't think so. In a country, in a civilized country, let me say that, in a civilized country that many people claim to live according to Christian values, you shouldn't go hungry, you shouldn't have to live on the streets, and you shouldn't have to die because you can't afford to get medical coverage. Those are just the basic, and I think everyone should be entitled to a minimum basic education. That would be the fourth thing that I think. And it's not just for them, it helps our nation if people have at least a minimum level of education. I would go so far also to say it helps if people have a minimum level of health care, because otherwise you'll have diseases spreading and we'll all be impacted. But that's just me being on my soapbox, but that's what I think. What do you all think about those things that I've said I think should be mandatory or should be provided to everyone? 63 Clock says, considering they cut food bank funding already this year, I would not be surprised if they just let SNAP go dry. Yeah, I think the same thing, 63 Clocks. I do. Feminine Poet says it's hard to say it's a game to them. It depends if they want to play the game both sides. Here's what I think, and I've said this before and I'll say it again. I think all of their benefits, their salary, their medical benefits, everything should be cut for everyone who is responsible for this vote until they come to an, so their health benefit, I just said, people should be entitled to it. But in this case, I will make an exception. Since they're taking these away from other people, I think all of their perks, their special money to travel and whatever, every single thing, their salaries, their medical, their family's medical, gone. Zip, gone until they pass the budget. That's what I think should be happening. And I think if all this happens, if everything is stripped from them, I think they'll be much more motivated to cooperate with each other and come to a solution. That's what I think. What do you guys think? Al Dente says, Senator Sheehan of New Hampshire has signaled she will break ranks with Democrats and vote open government this week. We'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see. Marcy says, yes, they are planning to let it get to that point. I agree, Marcy. I think they will. But I believe if they do, I believe there could be unrest. And let me just say this because I don't want this live to be kicked off YouTube. I think there could be unrest in the streets. I think if they let it go a whole lot longer, it could get to that. But I think honestly, this is just my opinion. I think that may be part of the intent is to be able to declare martial law or insurgents or, that's what I think that could be possibly part of what this is about. But I don't know. Again, what do you guys think? Feminine says the way to approach it if I had a friend on food stamps is act as if they are going to cut food stamps and proceed accordingly. Take care of oneself and family and make sure you can get fed for a while. I have on my video, I pull it down because it wasn't getting any views. I did so much work on that video. I'm going to redo it and post it back up, but I did so much research and I was so disappointed. I only got a couple thousand views. I researched the food stamps and everything else and the numbers and the percentages. I spent hours researching that, but I also believe, as I said before I went on to talk to Nora, if in fact they're willing to allow food stamps to be cut, I believe they will also allow the different HUD housing programs to be cut. And what I mean by that is I think they will not pay landlords for people who are in subsidized housing units, whether it's Section 8, whether it's HUD, whether it's affordable housing unit, whatever. I believe that will be the next, if this continues through October into November and beyond, I believe the housing programs are going to be cut. Then it'll be up to the landlords. It'll be interesting to see, will landlords boot their tenants out or will they wait for their rent? I don't know, because I've heard that in some public housing authority areas like LA, that landlords have been contacted and asked to be willing to reduce their rent amounts because the housing authorities were running out of money. So I don't know, but I believe, and we'll see if I'm right or wrong, that housing subsidies will be the next thing to be impacted if this shutdown continues into November. Reese Terry, I hope I'm saying this right. Reese, oh my goodness, Reese Tala, I hope that's right. Or oh, is that an L? I can't even tell with my glasses. Risatea says this project 2025, you said all this last year. I did. I said last year that I read through Project 2025 and I said last year, everyone needs to read through at least the pertinent parts, dealing with Social Security, dealing with veterans building benefits, dealing with food stamps, with Section 8 housing, with Medicaid and Medicare. Those are going to be impacted. I said all of this is going to be impacted under Project 2025. And I cannot tell you the hate comments I got. You don't know what you're talking about. 2025 isn't going to be impacted, or isn't going to be enacted. That's nothing. It's not happening. Blah, 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 blah. And I told people, I said, read Project 2025 and you will see the roadmap for what is coming down the pike. I say it again. I called this a year ago. Look and see. Look at what's happening and look and see what the recommendations are on Project 2025 and see if they're not matching up. Just see. Don't believe me. Read it for yourself. I encourage Please, I'm pleading with people, read that so you know what is coming, so you can prepare. I can't say how important that is. Um, Marcy says the cruelty is part of the goal. I don't know whether specifically the intent is to be cruel, but I think there's a certain callousness of, well, we really don't care. We have this plan and we're going to implement it, and we're not really concerned about who is impacted or how it impacts them. Well, you have someone, who was it that was on a program that said, I'm going to be careful about what I say because, again, I don't want this live thrown off. But they basically said if homeless people wouldn't go into shelters or something about homeless people, they should just go around poisoning them all or something to that effect. But anyhow, unaliving them. So let me put it like this. If you're looking at homeless people as not being humans and you can just unalive them, who's next? Disabled folks? Elderly people who cannot get around? Uh, I mean, where does it end? If it starts here that you're doing that, euthanize old people. I mean, where once you start on that slippery slope that you believe in that and you think that that's an appropriate thing to even to not just think but to say out loud, that's frightening. That is frightening. Nora says the issue is that this is no doubt both. This is not about both sides. One side shows up and the other doesn't, and the Republican side doesn't give a damn for the suffering. I think that people are so entrenched on what they want and getting their agenda that they've tuned, like a racehorse is in a block and they have those blinders on so they see nothing but the track ahead of them. I think that's how people have become, that they have blinders on, they're seeing the track ahead of them, and if people are falling by the wayside, there's a goal and they're looking at that goal and whatever it takes to get to that goal. And I think that's what we're seeing right now. 63 Clock says, I don't think we should have to choose between Affordable Care Act and food stamps. Both should be required. Again, my opinion. I think that, here, let me say this. I think there are some people who are on food stamps who are capable of working and should go out and get a job. I just believe that's the case. I've seen enough of individuals who that could be the case for. So those individuals, making them get out and get a job, I'm all for that. Making people who have been on Section 8 from one generation to the next generation to the next generation, and it becomes a lifestyle instead of a hand up or a health, I believe that needs to change. That, but I think there needs to be training offered, um, available jobs so that once the training is done, they can get the jobs. But Section 8 was not supposed to be you are on Section 8, then your child is on Section 8, then your grandchild, then your great grandchild. That wasn't the intent of it. And I think that chain needs to be broken. But I think it needs to be broken in a humane way, and you put something in its place to replace it so people can get skills and become a functioning part of society. But I don't think, how it's being done now is my understanding. And if I'm wrong, let me know. Is that if anyone has been on Section 8 for 2 years, that they're given a notice, and I think it's 60 or 90 days they're off. I don't think that's right. If you've allowed someone to be on it for 20 years, 30 years, well, you've been part of the problem. You've enabled them. And I don't say keep doing it, but I'd say instead of, if they're, at a working age, instead of pulling them off in 60, 90 days, I say maybe give them a year, and within that year, offer some training options and some things for them to do to get some skills, and to offer some work projects, maybe government related work projects, because there's a lot of different things that need to be done in the government, and whether it's working on roads, whatever. but and do it then and phase them out and into that. But I say 30, 60 days or 60 or 90 days and you're off, we're going to have a lot more homeless folks, and then we're going to have even bigger problems. So I don't think that's the way to do it. But I do agree that people, it shouldn't be a generational thing. I just don't agree with that. Feminine Poet says, you are not fear mongering, Carol. Don't let anyone allow anyone to say that, especially in these times. People are not fear mongering for stating facts that are happening and preparing accordingly. I thank you, Feminine. I have always said that preparation is the antidote to fear. I'm not saying you might not have some anxiety when you look and see what's happening, but if you know what's happening and you can start preparing, that puts you in such a better position to to move and to be flexible and to work around things and to um, take care of your family. So I try to give people information that I believe will be helpful, that you can take and put it in your pocket and use, lets you know what's coming down the pike. And the information that I provide is, I would say 98% of the time, is based on researched facts that I can document and show receipts for. And the small amount that's my opinion, if I say, well, I think this is going to happen, I present that as opinion. But I will also usually tell you why I have that opinion. But when I say this is a fact, I've done the research and I can provide the documentation for that. So rainwater fall apocalypse. I'm sorry. But hey, rainwater, the whole system needs a revamp. Yeah, a lot of the system does need a revamp. I would agree. Mo Bang Tim says they need to pass individual funding instead of lumping so many programs together. That's a great idea, Tim. I absolutely agree. And then they can prioritize which things are going to have impact and maybe have seniors and children starving versus which things, if people don't get them done, it may be uncomfortable, but not life threatening. Absolutely, Tim. That's a great idea. I agree with that. Billy Clover says, God will see us through. Well, he will see us through, but God allows us to have consequences. Look at the children of Israel when they were, going through the trying to get to the promised land. Look at throughout the Old Testament, you see where they were overcome and taken into custody and everything else because they were not obedient and they did foolish things. So he will see us through, but he will not prevent us from having consequences for our wrongful behavior. Sandy says, I think that they don't care about you or me. They care about power. There are a lot of people there that do only care. Come on now. There are people who've been in there, 50 years? I don't know, some crazy amount of time. They need to get out. It's time for them to move on. Get out. Let someone else come in. It's just crazy for them to be there that long. And they're holding on to power with everything in them. I agree, Sandy. I agree. Sandy said there should still be money in the states. The federal government only supplements food assistance, so there will be some money. No. And I could be wrong, Sandy, but my understanding is the federal government, all of the money for food stamps comes from the federal government, is my understanding. Now, in Project 2025, if I've read it correctly, that will change. And the federal government will not pay for all of food stamps. They will bring in the states, and the states will be responsible for at least a portion of the food stamps, if not all of them. I'm not sure. I have to go back and reread that. But my understanding, in fact, let me look it up. While we're on here, let me look it up and see. Hold on, Sandy. One good thing about this now is, does the federal government pay 100% of the food stamp allotment? Okay, here's what it says. Yes, the federal government pays 100% of the SNAP, which is Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, formerly known as food stamps benefit cost. So that's what it's saying. States administer the program and share the administrative costs. So the cost for the people who do the work, the administrative costs, but all the funds for the food assistance benefits themselves come from federal sources. So just so you can know that, Sandy. And here's where it says that. Hold. Here's where it says it here. Just so you can see. So, but under Project 2025, that is set to change. Now, here's what's going to happen if that goes into effect. You've got a lot of states, Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana, Arkansas, maybe Nebraska now with what's happening with farmers. They're going to have a hard time paying the cost, if not the full cost, of food stamps. I don't know how much, but the many poorer states are going to have a hard time paying that. So what's going to happen? Well, there's only two possibilities. Either they're going to cut people or kick people off the program. They're going to make the requirements such that people are kicked off, or they're going to reduce the amount of food stamps you can get. I mean, there's only two things you can do. If you don't have enough money to pay your part to make the program solvent, then you're going to have to make cuts. And the only cuts I can see are, well, you can cut people administrative, but I don't think they'll do that to the extent that would pay the difference in the gap. So again, I know it's 900 pages. You don't have to read the whole thing, but go and please, 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 and you can read it online, but just go in, and the parts that may apply to you, well, it's going to apply, all of them probably apply to most of us, but the parts that specifically apply to you, especially if you're on Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, a veteran, and for veterans, they're going to make it more difficult to get disability. They're going to change some of the criteria of what is a disability. I mean, please go in and read the parts that pertain to your demographic. You've got to know what is in it. Maybe I'll do a video on this. I know I'll get a whole flat. Half my people will unsubscribe, but you know what? I really need to warn people what's happening and maybe go over specific sections to let people know what is going to come down, because you've got to be, the Bible says, my people perish for lack of wisdom. Or knowledge, but I'm not sure. Maybe it says for lack of knowledge, but the absence of knowing what's coming leaves you in an even more vulnerable position. So, Sharon says they'll open the government a day or two before SNAP is cut off. Okay, we'll see, Sharon. I hope you're right. I pray you're right. And I will be so happy if that happens. Yeah, 3 Generations says praying. Yes, absolutely. 63 Clock says, Sandy, unless you live in a poor state. Yeah, no, it's gonna be a problem. Marta says, I saw several articles about the Walmart job freeze. Oh, okay, Marta. So it is true. Yeah, I had seen somewhere that the CEO, oh, you know what? I can do real life, what do they call it? Real life check. I forget, there's a name for it when you check something as you're going. Let's see. Does Walmart have a hiring freeze? Now that's odd they'd have a hiring freeze right near Christmas, because usually that's their busiest season. Ooh, it says yes. Walmart announced a global hiring freeze for the next 3 years, beginning in late September 2025. Here it is, folks. So it's intended to accommodate the increasing use of AI to handle tasks currently performed by employees. A move to, oh boy, that's another thing. AI is going to be replacing hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of jobs. I saw a thing recently in Montana, and if I had the time, I would go up there and do an interview on there, but I don't have the time. But I think it's either a Dollar Tree or a Dollar General that there are no employees in the store. I guess someone has to bring the stuff into the store, but they have robots and other things stocking the shelves. They have AI things done, so you get, I don't know how it is, but you check yourself out and it checks, and when you go out, there's a way to know if you paid for stuff. No one in the store checking you out, and robots doing a lot of the work, and is AI is a real thing. And I thought, well, AI might, dumb me. I thought, well, AI might replace, some computer things people are doing on computers, and maybe some graphic design, and this and that, maybe some written things. But no, I thought jobs that actually people have to actually do. Well, it turns out there are not a whole lot of jobs people have to actually do. And AI is going to, that's a whole nother group of people who are going to be out in the cold without jobs. Um, but I digress. I am sorry for getting off on a tangent here. Feminine Poet says, these times are calculated and socially engineered. I think some of them are. I'll tell you what I think is being socially engineered. I think there's a movement afoot to have most people own nothing and be happy about it. Having not owning your own home the norm. And I'll tell you why I think this, because I recently saw a brand new, well, it's been a few months now back, but I saw a brand new housing development that all brand new homes, but none of them were for sale. And it wasn't like they opened up for sale and they didn't sell, so they changed. No, they opened up this development as rentals. So these corporations are coming in, building developments, buying homes, middle income homes across the nation, especially in middle America, Ohio, and different places like that. They're raising the cost and then they're renting them out. Little by little, it appears there's a plan to make us more a nation of renters than of homeowners. So I have to agree with what you're saying there, Feminine Poet. Catherine, Fabulous 60, says, yes, they do. They laid off at Christmas time for years. Yeah, I used to work in manufacturing. I was a shop foreman and supervisor in manufacturing years and years and years ago for GE and some other companies. And I noticed that when they had their layoffs, it would be right before Christmas. And I was like, why would you lay people off before Christmas? Why not wait till after, or why not do it months and months before Christmas so they know how to plan? But they would wait right till Christmas, maybe when people had bought all their gifts and were broke and charge accounts up to the hilt and whatever else, in debt up to their eyeballs, and then they lay folks off. I thought that was the cruelest thing ever, to lay people off at Christmas time. But that's what I saw happen. And it wasn't just in one company, it was in multiple companies that I worked for, that they had layoffs at Christmas, just before Christmas. Al Dente says, pass the clean continuing resolution with funding at some levels, then negotiate. I agree. Plain vanilla Grandma Carol says, the people that I know receive SNAP benefits get very little, and they really need every dollar they get. I agree, Carol. I absolutely agree. It's not like, they're splurging. Now, there are a few people who I think should be out working, that are capable of working. There are some people I've seen, and I'm like, okay. But now, I knew a grandmother who was raising her small grandchildren, like they were 2 and 4 at the time I met her. Her hands were crippled up with rheumatoid arthritis. They were almost like this. She could barely move them. Her feet were turned in. She could hardly walk, and she was getting SNAP. This woman couldn't go out and get a job, and plus she's raising these 2 children because her daughter was on drugs. So yeah. So there are some people who will be really severely hurt. Billy Clover says, my grandparents raised me, and grandma taught me what it was like to live through the Depression. Well, my mom lived through the Depression, and she used to rinse off aluminum foil and reuse baggies. I mean, so I have to admit, I do a lot of the stuff that my mom did. I'm a tightwad. I'm a proud member of Tight Wads Unanimous. I am. Tight Wads United. So, hey, Billy, well, you'll do better than a lot then because you're already used to cutting back. Katie Kane says, as long as the food stamps go to non-USA citizens, as long as the food stamps go, I'm happy. I don't know about food stamps, so let's look at this. Hold on. Let's see this. Do food stamps go to non-citizens in the United States? Let's see what it says. Okay, generally undocumented immigrants are ineligible, but certain categories of qualified immigrants, such as refugees and lawful permanent residents, after a 5-year wait. Okay, so it says some non-citizens can receive, but eligibility depends on there's significant restrictions. So it sounds like undocumented aliens are not, our illegal aliens are not eligible. But if you're a migrant, that if now I would say, let's say someone, but I would say that needs to be very, very kind of restricted. Let's say you were from Rwanda and you're one of the group that was being systematically unalived, and your very existence there for you and your family, I mean their whole families were wiped out, and you managed to get here and we're seeking refugee. Yeah, I think you should get help. I think to start over, I think, but I think there should be a limit on the time. And I mean, it shouldn't be for 40 years, but I think to if you're fleeing, truly fleeing for your life, and that can be documented, yeah, I think we should give you help. However, I do still believe that if you're a citizen here, our first responsibility is to citizens. And that's why I think we need to make sure that citizens who are receiving it are really the ones who need it. um uh Sandy says, I don't know about differences in states food assistance. I'll have to research it. Yeah, yeah, it's my understanding is that the federal government pays for all of the food stamp benefits. The food stamps is a federal program. Just like Social Security is, comes from a certain trust fund. The food stamp is a federally approved program. Um uh Ralph Finns asks where you live. Where do I live? I live on the West Coast in California. Uh, Gobo Searcher says my grandmother applied for jobs. Her previous place was only scheduling her 1 4-hour shift a week. Wow. She found another job after 3 months. She must have applied to 50 places and went in person. I'm telling you, 3 months right now in today's job market is a short time to be looking for a job. People are out there a year and a half. I see on TikTok all the time people are going on there saying how they've applied for 100, 200 jobs. Um, and here's the thing: some of them have gone for 4, 5, 6 interviews. I mean, you can't tell by the second interview whether you want to hire a person or not. You make someone go for 4, 5, 6 interviews and then you tell them they're not getting the job. To me, that's disgusting. If you can't tell within 2 interviews whether you want to hire a person or not, you shouldn't be the person doing the hiring. You don't need 6 people to hire a person to decide if they're qualified. I'm sorry, that's just ridiculous. But that's what and they're doing that to people because they know people are so desperate for jobs that they'll put up with this foolishness. Hey, PJ Stitchery. Hey, says this is in California. PJ says my health insurance is $579, and as of January, that same plan. What? Wait a minute. Okay. Let me read this again. I want to make sure I'm reading this right, PJ. My health insurance is $579 a month. And as of January, that same plan is going up to $1883, along with my copay increasing. That is over 200% increase. Have we gotten our medical? Um, I better check and find out what's happening with mine. Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. That's before they take away ACA. Imagine what's going to happen if they take away affordable. Oh my goodness. The Affordable Care Act. Mo Bang says you can go around local toll roll on local highway. On some, I think, but I don't think in every place you can. I know here in California you can, but in some states, I don't think that going like if you go over certain bridges to go into New York and stuff, or certain places, there's only one or two ways in and out coming from Connecticut and different places into New York. You've got to go a certain way unless you take a ferry or something. But yeah, not everywhere is like that, Tim. But there are a lot of places that you can. Catherine Fabulous 60 says, regarding some insurance, I had an agent tell me sometimes it's theft stats on premium. Theft stats. Interesting. Plain vanilla grandma said of saying hi. Okay. Uh yeah, that is insane, PJ. So I presume that you're gonna change insurance plans, PJ. Um, I mean that's just insane. Uh, Violet and Roses 18 says here in California is over $100 per month for a 20-year-old car. That's yeah, for yeah. Yep, I won't even tell you guys what I pay for insurance. I'm not even going to tell you because I have several vehicles, so I'm not even going to go there. Madonna Sun Soul says Cali has a low cost insurance program for low income folks. Oh, really? I didn't know that. That's good to know. Do you know what the name of it is, Madonna? And can you get that through your insurance agent or how does that work? Al Dente says $58, 6 months less. Total insurance was so it's less six. So okay, bottom line is it was $912 for 6 months. Okay. Yeah, because I was gonna say if you're paying $58 for 6 months, you're on a skateboard. uh Beachy Keen says gas is going down. Well, I just paid 489, so I don't know where it's going down for you. I'm not saying it's not, but I'm saying I just paid 489, and I've seen some places that it's $5 and something, but that's in Southern California in places. So now there is a place, but I have to kind of drive a little out of the way, and I only get it when I go there. That it's usually about 40 cents less, and it's usually even 10 cents less than or 15 cents less than Costco. So whenever I can, I fill up there. Go Bo Searcher says, I went with USAA for car insurance, but there are many people who drive without insurance, Florida and Alabama. I know. And I think sock it to them. I'm sorry. You get picked up with no insurance. If it's a second offense, whoop, into the slammer you go. Directly, do not pass go. Straight into the slammer. My daughter lived in both states in an accident, other driver's fault, no insurance. Yeah, no. I'm sorry. I don't. If you're not going to pay insurance, don't drive. Take the bus, walk, take a moped. I don't, not a moped, a skateboard. Take a little propelled thing, but ride a bicycle. But I feel like that. Well, I feel actually stronger about driving and drinking. I mean, if you do that and hurt someone, you're gone. But I'm sorry, no. That's why insurance is so high because of uninsured motorists. No, if you and here's the thing, if you're stopped and you don't have auto insurance, impound the vehicle. Take it. Just take it. And you can't get it back until you show proof of insurance that's paid up for 6 months. Paid up in full for 6 months. That would be a requirement to get your vehicle back. Yeah, that and driving under the influence are two of my pet peeves when I was in law enforcement. No. Peachy King says your insurance goes up because people making bogus claims within your state. It's state based. Well, we just saw someone said in Arkansas they were going up, but there are some states that have a lot of auto theft too. And those states and those areas have very high auto insurance. But everywhere is going up, though, everywhere. Some more than others because of risk factors, like you're saying, Beachy Keen. But I think everywhere is going up. Plain Vanilla says, my daughter got gas today, Amarillo, and it was 2.26 a gallon. Oh my God. You just want to make me cry. I'm just, 2.26 a gallon. Oh my gosh. That's less than half. Less than half. So that means I'm paying twice as much to go the same amount of miles that you go. Wow, wow, wow. Oh my goodness. Al Dente says 2022 traded in for 2025. Either the new vehicle has more safety features or is less prone to theft. It does not make sense, but better the $58 in my pocket than theirs. Hey, I heard that. That's interesting. Interesting. Maybe it does have more safety features, or maybe like you said, it doesn't have as history as being stolen as much. Mo Bang says, and we are 419 in California. We're happy that it's not 5 to 6. Well, I just paid 480 something, Tim. But 419, yeah, I think I can find it at 419 if I go to the other side of town, but I couldn't today. I had somewhere I had to be dealing with that car that was being towed, van being towed. 63 Clock says, PJ Stitchery, Kathy, there are many, many countries with successful universal health care for their citizens. It's unbelievable that the U.S. doesn't have it. That is very true. Although in Canada, they have all this health care. But I talked to a doctor who's from Canada, and she said it's a nightmare in Canada that they have so much, I don't know whether it's so much money for certain treatments or only certain number of surgeries for certain things. And if it's elective, you may have to wait till the next year. And just think, some things by the next year could get worse. And the waits to get in to get treated for different things can be astronomical. She was saying, and she's a doctor who's worked in the system. She said she's encouraging all of her kids not to go to medical school if they're going to practice in Canada. She said it's such a nightmare. But there are some, you're right though, there are 63 clocks, some countries who have done it really well. And I think the Netherlands and some of those countries may be among them. Yeah, yeah, PJ. Canada tax 50% from employees. Canada has outrageous taxes. Outrageous. Catherine Fabulous 60 says 63 clocks. We've thought about moving out of country, but how do they treat their elders? Better or worse than the United States? I'm going to tell you something, Catherine, and this is something I'm going to do a video on. Lending Tree did a survey or some research or something recently, and they found that 4% of the people they surveyed are actively, not thinking about it, but actively making plans to move out of the United States. Actively. Now we have 350 million roughly citizens, our people here. So 4% of 350 million would be, what about, my math's not any good. So 350 million, 300, I don't know, but it's millions. I figured it out once, and I think it was something like, I can't figure it out now, but it was millions and millions and millions of people were actively looking to leave the United States. And Americans are leaving the States in record numbers. They're going to Portugal, Mexico, even Albania is popular now, Panama, Costa Rica, and two countries that are getting more popular are Vietnam and Thailand. Now, the Philippines, I'm not even going to say too much about the Philippines, because the Philippines, you have a lot of old dudes going over there to get with young girls. And I'm sorry, I have an opinion on that, but because they can't find anyone that wants them here. So they go over there. These guys who have average salaries, or maybe even not average, but to someone who's living in an impoverished, they're raising them up out of poverty so they can eat and feed their clothes and feed and clothe their kids. So they're going over there, these 60, 70-year-old guys fighting these 18-year-old girls. I'm like, okay, I digress, but yeah. So Philippines is a popular place, but more so with older men. Let me just say that. Um, Mart is at 63 clocks. They don't have it because your taxes would be higher to pay for it. Some countries pay 60 to 70%. But there are ways like the Affordable Care Act with some subsidies that help millions to get health care, you know. Uh oh, Billy Clover says, I remember government commodities. There were some people that lived behind us when we were growing up in apartments behind us, and they used to get this government cheese, and every once in a while they would give us a cut off a block or something. That was the best cheese. Oh my goodness, it tasted like it came right from the farm. But yeah, I hear people talking about the commodities, the government cheese. Oh my goodness, we didn't get them, but sometimes they'd take off one of the moms and take us. My dad was gone in the military, and we were struggling, and would take off a block and bring my mom some. And I tell you, that was some good cheese. Sandra says they cut Section 8 housing assistance. Yes, they did, and they're going to cut it more. They're going to cut it more. Yeah, the chat moved to Monday, Jojo, because where I was on Saturday, I could not get a connection, and I was fading in and out, and it was just a nightmare. And I wasn't going to go through the whole live fading in, dropping off. So I just said, you know what, I'm going to try and do it Monday. And then I had to tow that vehicle, but I still got on, still on here, still got on. What time is? Oh, we're running. I'm just trying to get to some of these comments. PJ says, I'm thinking about going to the local food bank because every little bit helps. You know what? If you need it, go. If you need it, PJ, go. And I would ask anyone who has extra food, please donate it to your food bank because they're going to run out of food. If this happens, and I'm keeping my fingers crossed, I think it's going to happen. Here's what I think is going to happen. I think they're going to go into November without solving this. Food stamps are going to cut off, and people are going to go berserk. Congressmen, senators, everyone's going to get such a ravaging from their constituents, especially in poorer states, that they're going to get back to the bargaining table. The problem is it takes a while because the USDA sent states notification not to send information for November to the vendors. Apparently, now if I'm wrong, correct me, but how I understand it is that there are vendors that actually issue out the cards and all this stuff and load the cards up and stuff. Well, the states send that information over to these vendors so they can do that. Well, the USDA told states not to send anything for November. So even if they get back within, say, the first week of November, it'll take them a while to get that information over to the vendors. I think they usually send it to the vendors by the 21st of the preceding month. I think, I'm not sure. But if that's the case, it could take a week, 2 weeks, unless they really can expedite it, for them to get things going and get these cards loaded. So if that's the case, even if they were to pass a budget that would fund food stamps, say the first week of November, it could be the second or third week before people are able to buy food. So yeah, it's 63 clock says PJ stitchery. I understand that's not what I'm saying. My point is that there are many countries providing universal health care and doing well without taking 50% of employees' income. Yeah, I believe there are 63 clocks. I believe there are some. Canada is not one of them, but I believe there are. Kenneth says, I wish I could trade my arthritis for a body that works. Well, one day, if you're a believer, you'll get a glorified body, but you got to wait for that, Kenneth. And none of us, despite our conditions, I wouldn't say none of, but most of us aren't in a hurry to do that. uh, 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 PJ says, Kathy, if they could do it, why can't the U.S.? Well, because I would say there's a lot of things the United States can do, but there's an absence of the will to do it. That's what I would say. An absence of the will to do it and greed. I'd say those are the two factors. Martin says, Kenneth, me too. I'm 73. Tim from Mobank says, I would pile up lots of credit being a handyman, fixing car, house, or whatever. You're willing to take a risk chance for me to try it out. I'm telling you, Tim, I think that people in groups should form a way that, you form a group that has people that have skills, that everyone has skills that someone in the group needs and someone in the group that's people in the group want. And yeah, I can see that working. Or just have an informal thing. Well, you have a thing. I think how I don't want to keep up with all how many points you have and how many of that. I'm not good at keeping records and stuff. I would rather just have a board where you sign up. Hey, I have 3 meals I'm going to cook today. I'll have 3 extra servings of lasagna. And I need to have my I don't know, my dog walked or whatever. I'm willing to give a lasagna dinner for every time you walk my dog. I mean, simple things like that. I think having a list of things people are willing to do, a list of things people can trade for, and say, hey, I have this and I need this done. And someone else can say, I have this, I need this done. Or just say, I can do this and maybe not have anything that you want done. And someone else, but work it out. But I think it could work. I really think it could work. 63 Clock says, thanks for clarifying. I mean, PJ Stitchery says, thanks for clarifying 63 Clocks. Jennifer says, I make 8-day clocks. Okay. Um, yeah, Bunny, it was Hotel Rwanda. That was a powerful, powerful movie. It really was. And I think we're not at that point, but we have hints of that kind of mindset. That was about tribal things, from what I understand, but still it was about, you're the other. And because you're the other, you don't matter, you don't have value, and you're dispensable even with your life. Um yeah, it really was. Um oh, thank you there. Nora dropped her link. Cooking and baking. Oh, Billy's cooking and baking. Oh my goodness. You would be a very popular person in a lot of circles. Nora said, you would, Tim. Everyone needs your services. True, 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 Tim. Hey, Rose Zazani Designs. Yes, yes. Barter, barter, barter. When am I going to be in Northern California? I'm not sure when I'm going to be in Northern California. I've got to go up there. I know I'll be up there. Well, I don't know. I got to check with my family's Christmas plans because lately they've been changing them all over the map. Um, but I may be up in Northern California during the holidays. I may be up then during the Christmas holidays. I have something else I want to do up there, but I'm not sure when I'll do it. But I want to go over to YouTube, but do I dare? The last time I went to YouTube, last I went to the YouTube building, I almost got arrested. So I'm kind of, a little bit traumatized at the idea of going there, but I need to go there. So I don't know. I'll see. Barter income is taxable. Well, but if you're not getting paid. So if I bake you if I bake you a cake and you fix my plumbing, you mean they're going to tax that? Oh, the heck with them. I'm not reporting that. If I bake you a cake and you come, I'm not. That's like a neighbor helping a neighbor and someone gives you something to to say thanks. I'm not saying money exchanging. Don't exchange money. I'm saying exchange services. Now, if they can figure out a way to find out an exchange tax services, so be it. But I that's not what I'm um doing. When you say it's on tax returns, I'm going to ask my tax person what how that works because I haven't heard about that. But I'm not saying it's not that, PJ. I just don't know about it. Sharon Holmes, hey Sharon says this has been an interesting chat. Thanks, Carol. Hey, lots going on, lots and lots and lots going on. Uh, PJ says go to jail and you will have better health insurance than on the outside. I'm going to tell you something. When I was in law enforcement, I had someone who I was dealing with, and he had just gotten out of jail. And he was telling me, he said he had a heart attack or something happened. And he said they were trying to process him and get him out, get him out, get him out because he was getting worse and worse and worse, but they couldn't. He had a heart attack. They had to do major bypass surgery on him. And he told me, he goes, being in jail saved my life because I would never have been able to afford the health care I got in jail. So you're right. In jail, you can, according to him, being in jail, he got the medical treatment that he would not have gotten on the outside. And he said going to jail actually saved his life. So you're right, PJ. You're right. Sandy says you're not paying more for uninsured motorists. You're paying more for corporate greed. I think you're paying more for all of it. I think they come up with any and every excuse, and it does fall down to greed too. But Tim says, PJ, no paper, no evidence. Good luck's tax man. That's, hey, I'm with you. Hey, I'm with you on that, Tim. I'm with you on that. By the way, hit that thumbs up if you guys would. Hit it the thumbs up. It helps the algorithm and helps me to get out there and do more stuff for you. Just missed your live. So sorry. Well, my live is still going. So, Amy, Sandra, exactly that, says Nora, saying, Bunny says, I pay my taxes, do not evade them, but corporations pay zero unless they're run by complete schmucks. I have no problem with individuals bartering and not claiming it for tax purposes. I don't think it should be taxable. I'm not going to say, but I mean, how do you place a value on it? Okay, tell you what. I'll bake you a cake, I'll charge you 50 cents for it, okay? I'll charge you 50 cents. And someone who's I mean, I can charge whatever I want. So, I'm no. Yeah, no. There comes a point that, but if it became real big giant business on huge, things online, yeah, they would stick their hands in it. That's why I say keep it private, keep it small, keep it among your own little group is what I'd say. Uh um, yeah, I would say keep it small, keep it among your own little group. And no, I'm not gonna be um no, but I'll ask my tax person just to get her opinion on it. But I don't think that's right. But we'll see. I'll ask her. Well, hey, I've been asking everything else on here. Let me ask this. Okay, if I barter with a neighbor and fix her plumbing and she bakes me a meal, do I have to claim that on my taxes? Well, PJ, according to this, you're right. It says under US law, bartering services with a neighbor is taxable income for both parties, regardless of whether any cash was exchanged. The fair market value of the goods or services you received must be reported. This means you must report the fair market value of the meal you received on your tax return. But okay, so it says the meal. I have to claim the meal. But what about the plumbing? It doesn't say anything about the plumbing. So only one person has to claim it. So I do some plumbing or I do. Mm, Huh. Huh. Well, that's what it says, but I have no comment. I'm not gonna I'm not gonna say anything on here to get me in trouble. I'm just gonna say no comment. All right, all right. Yeah, yeah, Nora, that's what I would imagine barter networks would pay tax on sales they make. Yeah, that's why I understood. That's why you were saying that you pay the tax in cash. The tax or the delivery. You did say that you pay the tax or the delivery charges in cash, and that's why. But I have no comment. I'm not making any comment, and I'm not making any recommendations to anyone on how to handle what they do as far as reporting or not reporting. I'm not saying mum is the word. Uh yeah, it sounds like they want bartering for the fair market price, but I have no comment. Like I said, I have nothing. I'm not saying anything. Sandy says you might want to talk to people who have been to jail. The new privately owned prisons are not providing much of anything, and the state ones aren't much better. Uh, I don't know about the new privately owned ones, but I know someone who is in jail in Orange County. They got their surgery, you know, because there's a liability. If you have someone who needs a medical treatment and you fail to give it to them, there is a liability if they die, or there's a liability there on the institution. But I wouldn't be surprised if they try to get out, because I understand their private institutions, I've heard, I don't know, I haven't verified it, are serving practically what amounts to slop for meals. So I don't know. I don't know. Uh, yeah, a power grab in Texas was crazy. Oh, don't get me started. I'll really digress if I go there. Carol, mine is going up over 200%. Wow. Whoo. Bunny says when the other side says stuff like we should roll over and play um unalive and we have no leverage, what do you expect? I don't know. I just know that people are going to suffer if this goes on any longer. Well, people are already suffering, you know. Yeah, and here's I have a bone to pick. I do have a bone to pick. I have a problem sending Argentina $20 billion. Possibly lately I've heard it might be 40 billion. What happened to America first? I'm sorry. Right now, I don't think we need to be sending Argentina five $20, much less 20 billion. Do you know how many people $20 billion could feed? Do you know how many homeless people, seniors, that veterans that could be housed for a year with 20 and now 40 billion possibly? No, I am not in agreement with sending this money. If you can pull money together to send it to Argentina, then you should be able to pull money together to pay our air traffic controllers, to pay people who are considered essential workers. If you're essential workers, they should essentially be paid. That's all I have to say. All right. Tim says, is 100 a small group for bartering? No, I don't think that's a small group, Tim. I think that's a lot. That amount would involve enough various skills and talents to make it work. I think 30 could make it work, Tim. I really think 30, if you specifically pick certain skills that coincide with needs. I would say I would do a survey and I would find out skills, and then I would find out needs. And then I would, if I was heading this group up, I would pick people to be in it based on skills that were needed and needs. I would do that. If I had 10 people who regularly needed this skill, then I'm going to find someone bring into that group that does this. If I have 5 people who regularly need this, I would try at the start who I brought in, have them match up to the needs within the group. But I'm not going to do that I'm not going to farmer group because I don't have the time, but I will participate in bartering with people on a small scale. I remember this is years and years ago. I needed my gate fixed. My gate was falling down to my fence, and a friend of mine's brother and his friend were, they could do all that kind of work. Well, he was trying to get information out about his business and, his carpentry and handyman. So he said, I'll tell you what, I'll fix your gate for you for free. You supply the materials, I'll fix it for free if you make me up flyers and write out flyers and design flyers for me to distribute. I was like, hey, sounds like a plan to me. So I got my gate fixed and he got his flyers. We were both happy campers. But in a bartering system, both people have to get something that they think of is of value, and they have to believe that what they're getting is equal to the value of what they're giving. I mean, it can't be really lopsided, or that won't work for very long. But we both walked away from that deal happy, and he's the one that suggested it. So I was a happy camper because I had gotten quotes to do my fence, and it was going to be quite a bit. So we were both happy. Kathleen says, remember Kristallnacht in Germany under Nazi influence? Things turned for the worse overnight. Things can, I'll tell you something. Things are developing here at a very, very rapid pace, much more quickly than I thought would happen. I have to say that. That's just my opinion. PJ Citry says, Sandra, in California, they get the best care in jails and prisons in California, and prisons in California are not privately owned. I don't know. I think there may be some privately owned ones now, but let's look. You know what? It's so nice having my phone here. I can just go on here and find out right away and do real life. What do they call that? Real life checking. Um, are there any privately owned prisons in California? No, you're right. It says California does not have privately owned prisons anymore. So apparently they used to have them, PJ. It says as of 2019, as of 2019 law banned the state from contracting with private companies for prison operations. However, the state's ban on private immigration detention centers was complicated by a 2022 court ruling, and some privately run immigration facilities continue to operate. Also, there are pay to stay private jails in Southern California for certain offenses. So, a pay to stay? So what? So what? Jail is more like a country club. Oh, look, I want to go to that jail and I'll pay to be there. I don't know. I don't know if that's what it's saying, or I do know that there are fines and fees, and you do have to pay for certain expenses associated with being in jail. But a pay to stay jail. Uh, let's see, what is a pay to stay jail in California? I mean, doesn't that sound like you can say, hey, I'm being, I don't know. Uh, Listen to this. You're not going to believe this. So even if you're rich, you can stay in a better jail, not only get better health care. Listen to this. A pay to stay jail in California is a program where eligible individuals can pay a fee to serve their jail sentence in a separate, cleaner facility rather than a county jail. What the tarnation? Part of the point of going to jail is so that it's so miserable that you don't want to reoffend and go back. If you're rich and you can pay to be in a country club jail, how is that? Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. So you have paid. I didn't know this. I'm learning a lot on today's live. Are you guys? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. 63 Clock says no food programs, no health care. It's total insanity. Shaking my head. Me too. Me too. It is. It is. Um, People are getting their premiums raised by as much as 400%. I know. Yeah. There are some that are being raised by 400%. Uh, Risatea says healthcare is a basic human right. I think so. I really think that housing, food, and healthcare should be basic human rights. And I think education should be a societal right because it really benefits society as much as the person being educated. But yeah, um, healthcare, housing, a roof over your head, and food, those should just be basic human. I mean, food should be a basic right for even an animal. I mean, come on, much less a human being. All right. All right. Thank you, 63 clocks. Bunny Smith says that's fine, but I did not name names or sides. I will avoid anything that could be misconstrued. Jojo said it's just like schools. If you live in an affluent, well, that's true. Your children get a better education in a poor area. Same with medical insurance. That's true. It is true. Very true. I remember where we live, the the moms and the PTA got together and decided that all the parents should contribute $250, and this is a large elementary school, $250 so they can have some kind of music or something. I don't know what kind of program. And there was a lot of pressure put on. I didn't donate because of the pressure. I donated because I thought that it was a good thing to do. But yeah, they wanted everyone to contribute 250. I think most of the parents kicked in $250. Yeah, to pay for a music or art or something. I don't know, some program. Uh Mo Banks says, all I see that my health care premium will go up with current program. That program is not working. Time to find a new solution. Yeah, well, I was talking. Okay, I have a friend. I'm not going to name their name. They had to have surgery on their eye. They had to have cataract surgery on both eyes, and they needed to put drops in, um, after the surgery to make sure no infection set in, everything else. I kid you not. Their health care paid for the drops once for one eye. They wouldn't pay for the drops for the second eye. I mean, I'm not making this up. I am not making this up. They would not pay for it was under an advantage care program of some sort, but they wouldn't pay for the drops for the second eye. Only one eye. So the other eye could get infected. So the doctor, now mind you, there's a shot that while the person's under, you can give, which is really the best thing to do, and it really um, eliminates the likelihood of infection. But the insurance didn't pay for that at all. So the doctor that she was going to on their own, and they had to pay for it out of their own stock, since they wouldn't pay for the drops for the second eye, went ahead and gave the upgraded shot that wasn't paid for under any circumstances. And when my friend, they told me, I just gave you the shot. And my friend asked, well, what made you do that? They said, because they're not going to pay for the drops and you're going to have problems with your eye. You needed something. So I just went ahead and gave the shot because I had it. I went ahead and gave it. That's a doctor who cares about their patients. But do you believe that? Do you believe that? Oh my goodness. Now, if this person went blind, then they'd have to pay disability, then they'd have to pay all kind of things. It's so a little preventative, but the system is not set up to prevent you from getting sick. It's set up to save money. Bunny says, Jojo, I just retired as a public school teacher. With my district, the wealthy and poor areas were funded the same. Now that's unusual, but fabulous. It's in poor districts with lower tax revenue that get shafted. Wow. Oh my goodness. Al Dente says a welfare state with open borders is unsustainable. I agree. A welfare state with open borders is unsustainable. I absolutely agree. I do think, though, that we need to be humane. uh, you know, but I agree. We can't have an open border with anyone coming in and getting all benefits. I would agree. I think there is a I think there is a reasonable balance that's also humane. And I see people going to either extremes, and I don't see people meeting in the middle. And I say that I'm speaking specifically about United States citizens, veterans, seniors, disabled folks, children. I don't see a meeting in the middle to deal with those individuals. Um, PJ Stitchery says if a person makes less than 100K, their health insurance costs should be frozen. Now that sounds good. 63 Clock says, yes, no work, no pay, just like all of us. Congress should not get paid. Oh, absolutely. They shouldn't get paid a dime. They should, oh, don't get me started. They shouldn't get paid. They shouldn't get any benefits. They shouldn't get any perks. They should get squat. Their family should get nothing. They should get squat. Put them out on the streets living in a tent. Hey, don't get me started. Do not get me started. Okay. Marta says, I agree, Luna. Okay. Sandy says, I agree with everything you've said so far. Everyone is entitled to food, housing, education, and healthcare. Yeah. I also think that Congress should do without their income and benefits until they agree, and their families too. Make them suffer like they're going to make other people suffer. Absolutely. MOBA. Now that's a thought. I agree. Lock them in. Lock them in there. Only let them go to the bathroom and have a. I'm not even going to say what I was going to say, but I agree. Lock them in there. They can't leave until it's passed. If they, even better, if it's not passed by a certain day, they all get rid of them all and bring new people in who can. But that's not going to happen. We're all dreaming here, but Nora says 63 clocks. Wouldn't that be nice? Billy says government housing here where I live has a lot of apartments empty. Where is that, Billy? Where is that? Because I don't know of any government housing apartments here that are low. There's waiting list up the wazoo. Catherine says that's why I watch prepping channels too. It's what we all need to be doing. Oh, there's a prepping channel I absolutely love. I'm trying to think what the name of it is. Oh, I'm getting all these calls coming in. I'm trying to think of the name of this city prepping. What's it? Oh, this guy, he is absolutely the best prepper, I think, on TV, right, on YouTube right now. I'm trying to think of what his name is, but he is let's see, what is his name? Let's see, what is his name? City prepping. Here he is. I love this guy. Oops. Hold on. City prepping. This is my very, very favorite. He's got over 1 million subscribers. He's my favorite prepper. I think he used to be a missionary, but he is so sensible. He makes sense. I think he has tremendous amount of integrity. City prepping. If you go over, tell him Glorious Life on Wheels sent you. I love this guy. And he has all kinds of guides, and his information, his videos are so often packed with valuable information. He does reviews on all these different um, um, power banks, and he gives you all this technical stuff about how many hours and this and that and what it'll. I mean, he really researches. He spends a lot of time, and he gives valuable information. City prepping. Let me put this down here because I absolutely love this. Is and he has all kind of prepping videos on how to get started and oops, I put city prepping. City city prepping. Love this guy. And he actually is here in Southern California. But he's my favorite, and I've watched several different preppers. He's my absolute favorite. But you know what? I've got to go because I got to get dinner ready. And I know I'm going to miss a lot of you. Yeah, they are trying to in a lot of the subsidized housing, and they're looking at really modifying Section 8 considerably, Billy. Um, yeah, but that's my favorite one. Marcy said it's their intention to find a reason to impose martial law. I think that may be. I think that's where we're headed. I've said that before. That I think some of this fostering of dissension and conflict. I think it's too. I think there are forces. I don't know. I'm not going to name who I think the forces are, but I think there are some forces that want things to come to a explosion so that there is martial law prior to the election. I've said that from the very start, and I still hold to that. But we'll see. We'll see. All right. Hey, Andrea. Yep, they do want to control us, Marta. They do. Uh, all right. Well, I do think, Billy, they want to keep us like mushrooms in the dark. And, I do think there's a lot that they want to keep from us. I would agree. Um, uh, yeah, 63. They have a website. They do. They do have where they're going to tracking. Go, please, 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 if you don't get anything else out of this video or this live today, go over and you don't have to read all 900 pages, but go through and read the parts in Project 2025 that affect you, whether you're in subsidized housing or food stamps, whether you're a veteran, whether you're a senior on Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security. Go over and read these sections because it's a map of what is happening and what is going to happen. Thank you so much, Van Life Gone Wonky. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm going to use that if the food stamps do get cut off. I've already contacted someone in a building that is all low income folks who were on very hard times before they got in this building. And I've already talked to someone who's in the building. In fact, Kat, the woman who used to live in a trailer with her golden retrievers, well, she got a studio in that. She lived for 4 years on a trailer on the side of the road in Southern California, but she's in there. So I contacted her. She gave me the name of the management, and they're open to me coming in. And I think what I'll do if this happens, and people are going to be, because a lot of people in there are on food stamps, I'm going to buy up some sandwiches from Costco because they have ready-made sandwiches. And I'm going to get some of that chicken soup because I did a thing a while back where I heated up chicken soup from Costco and give it out. So I'll do rice with chicken soup over it and sandwiches. And I think I will do that on a couple of days if they do not have food stamps paid for. But thank you so much. I will use that donation to do that. All right. Well, folks, it is getting time. I'm going to have to start getting dinner yet. Uh, oh, he did walk it back, the statement about poisoning homeless. Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right. I actually, PJ, I watch everything. I like to hear, and I'll tell you why I watch every side, because I like to hear what both sides are saying. And then I like to do my own hear what both sides are saying, do my own research, and then figure out what my position is. So I don't like to hear just one side because I don't get the whole. So I listen to all sides. I think that's the way to best come to your own conclusions. Uh Sandy says, it is okay to unalive for one reason. It won't be long before it's okay for any excuse. It's a slippery slope, Sandy. It's a very slippery slope. Oh, your husband's fixing spaghetti. Oh my goodness. You are so lucky, Catherine. Oh my, well, not lucky, blessed. Let's say not lucky, blessed. You deserve it. You're not lucky, you're blessed. All right. Tim says they tried that with old folks during the COVID. Oh, hold them in like prisoners and let the virus. Isn't that something? Isn't that something? PJ says, Catherine, can I have some spaghetti? Me too. I want some spaghetti. 63 Clock says, agree, Carol, training programs are needed. The cycle of poverty is truly difficult to climb out of. It is, but it's a generational curse in many instances that this is what children grow up seeing, and that's what they copy over and over from generation to generation to generation. And it needs to be broken, but it needs to be broken in a humane way, you know. Uh I have PJ says I have a friend that has done the Section 8 her whole life and she was able to work but chose not to. I'm sorry, but that's the kind of person I'm talking about. That's the kind of person that I would have a problem with, you know. Uh Not 2 years, 1 year. Not 2 years that they can only be on it 2 years or only be on it 1 year. Are they anyhow, I'm not sure. I think 2 years because it if you lose your job and you're looking for a job for an entire for 8 months or a year, it can take a long time to get back on your feet. And then you got, so I think 2 years is I think 2 years is appropriate because it really can take a long time to get back on your feet. That's okay, Janice. So much going on. That's true. So much going on. Uh Sharon says they do the training to sit on their to get the free stuff. Well, I would tell you once they get the training, they got to go out and be interviewing. And if they're not interviewing, if they're not, getting jobs, then I'm sorry, But they have to facilitate them getting a job. But yeah, no, they've got to get a job. And no, you don't. There's no going backwards. It's only going forwards. You know. All right. Yeah, when Section 8 is abused and when any program, Tim, is abused, it impacts people who do need it. I agree. Yeah, a lot of things are going by, yeah, Bunny. All right. All right. All right. Uh yeah, well, I think I have a lot of opinion on that, Benton Benton. Um I do believe that at some point, if a person is able-bodied, um, you know, it's like, hey, we're going to provide free childcare for you, and you're going to work. No more after your child gets a certain age, 6 months or so. Um, you made a choice to have, 5 kids if that's what your choice, and that's your right. But there are many mothers and single parents and single dads who have children who work and who have children who are, a certain age who work. I'm not saying you shouldn't get help, but I'm saying that because you have children should not relieve you of being responsible. That doesn't mean you can if you choose to have children, I don't think you should expect other people to take care of them for their entire lives while you do nothing. How that will be solved and resolved, I don't know. That's above my intelligent level. But I do believe that if you've had multiple children and you are using them as an excuse why you can't work, well, that was your choice. You know, that was a choice and you have the right to make that choice, but certain choices come with certain consequences, you know. All right. Yeah, they haven't read Project 2025. Please, please, please do. I know I'm saying that over and over, but please do. uh all right, folks. I am getting off of here. I know I'm missing all these great comments, comments, comments. This has been quite a live. Oh gosh, come back Saturday. I will be um um I will be back Saturday. on my regular schedule. I hope, oh, Saturday. No, what's the Saturday? 18, 19, 18, 19, 20, 1, 2, 3, 4, no, 25. I was going to say, oh, I've got a conference. No, the conference is in the middle of the week, which is kind of unusual. Usually a lot of these conferences are on weekends. But I will, as far as I know, I'll be on live Saturday and we can continue this. We can talk about other stuff. I have a video coming up tomorrow. It's the second part of the video with Jackie, where she actually shows, some of her favorite gadgets. She's the lady who's living in her van on $500 a month. Her circumstances, I'm not going to go into detail, have required her to really, really pare her living expense, her monthly expenses down to almost nothing. And she's done that. But she prepared in advance. She did a lot of things. She paid off debt. She worked several jobs. She makes sacrifices. So she now doesn't have any credit card bills, doesn't owe anyone money, doesn't owe on her car. It's paid off. So she's able to, it's amazing how low she's able to get her expenses. Go over, and that's my last video that I released. It's on woman. She lives in I forget the title, but it's talking about living in a vehicle for under, as a nomad, for $500 a month. And then tomorrow, knock on wood, if I can get it out and nothing happens, nothing else breaks down, the video will be coming up on her showing some of her favorite gadgets that help her to live in her vehicle on $500 a month. And she lives very simply, very, very, very simply. And Pascal from Tiny Campers built her a really ingenious bed, and he gave her a power station because she didn't have a power station before, and her bed was all wonky. But you'll see all that in tomorrow's video, and I think you're just going to love her. And if you haven't seen the video on how she explains what her expenses are and how she lives in Southern California, one of the most expensive areas in the country, and she lives in a city. She parks in the city on $500 per month. Go over and check that video out and share it out. I'd really like that video to get some traction and for a lot of people to see it, because I know a lot of people are going to be moving into vehicles soon. A lot of people who thought that was something they would never, it wasn't even in their realm of possibility, are now seriously considering it. So anyhow, I love each and every one of you. Would my moderators please drop your links, and Nora, drop your link again if you would for your store. Oh my goodness, all these comments I'm missing. Oh, I hate that. Bunny says, I'm just seeing here, but the children didn't make that choice. Do you want them to go hungry? Do you want them eating while mama goes hungry? I don't know what comment prompted that, but no, I don't want the children going hungry. Yeah. But no, PJ, I don't think they should give their kids up for adoption. I think they should be maybe more responsible to begin with. But anyhow, I love each and every one of you. May your journey be filled with joy and blessings. I don't see anyone dropping their links. Any of my moderators who want to drop your links, anyone who has a channel, put a C for content creator. If you're the first time in the house, put a number 1 if you would, so we can just quickly welcome you into the Globy family. So moderators drop links, content creators drop a C, and first timers number 1. And I'm gonna give you about 10 seconds to do that, and then I'm getting out of here. We have been on here. Do you know how long we've been on this live? But there was a lot to discuss. I mean, just a lot to talk about. And so much is going on. I mean, literally my head is spinning because I'm absorbing all this information so I can then go out and do research and then share it with you guys. So my head is just exploding with all this information. But I'm trying not to I'm trying to have a balance, get information to give to you, but not so much that I'm just a nervous wreck. Do you know what I mean? So don't absorb so much that you're a nervous wreck, but enough. Just read Project 2025 and go from there. All right. And then watch my channel and I'll tell you what's going on. All right. All right. Love you. I'll see you next time. Hopefully Saturday, everything will be going well. And I'll be able to come to you live without any technical difficulties. Take it easy. Love each and every one of you. Yeah, let me